Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Harry's Music Room. This idea for a deep dive into one specific artist, um, I first saw Jeff Whitcher do it. He's been doing it on numerous different artists that he likes, and he does a very good job. Um, I'm a big Monkees fan, so I first saw him do it with the Monkees, and got me inspired to maybe do a deep dive on another band that I really like a lot, and that's Chicago. Um, I was lucky enough to, basically grow up with their music in real time, so I got to enjoy it as each new release came out. So originally they were known as the Big Thing, and they were from the city of Chicago. And I believe that Jimmy Pankow, Um, well, first off, let me tell you who the band is. It's Danny Serafine on drums, Walter Parazader on woodwinds, Jimmy Pankow on trombone, um, Lee Loughnane on trumpet, Peter Cetera on bass, the great Terry Kath on guitar, and Bobby Lamb on keyboards. So that was basically the big thing in 1967. And I think Jimmy Pankow was a college roommate with James William Guercio, who uh, had become a rather well-known producer, produced albums by the Buckinghams, um, produced the first two, no, excuse me, the second Blood, Sweat, and Tears album. So he had a history of working with artists and turning out good product and successful records. So he took the band he took the band to Los Angeles and started recording, started getting them into the clubs on the strip. Their live show, they became really well known for their live show, which Jimmy Guercio got them signed to Columbia Records, and which makes sense because Buckingham's and Blood, Sweat, and Tears were also on Columbia. So the record was a huge success. It came out in 1969, and it says it was on I got some notes here. It was, at the time, it set a record for a rock album for the longest consecutive weeks, which was 171 weeks. This album is a total rocker. I mean, this thing is fantastic. Their first album, Chicago Transit Authority. This is not an expensive record. You can find it in the wild for $5 to probably $10. It is a great album. It's great value at that price. If you do see the 50th anniversary reissues, this one is done by Friday Music, is on red vinyl. This is very good. I do recommend this. There's another anniversary edition on gold vinyl, which is horrible. Do not buy it. Run as fast as you can away from that record. That is the worst sounding record I've ever heard. Anyway, so let's see. Originally I was a big fan of any band that had horns in it. I always felt that a real rock and roll band, not a rock band, but a real rock and roll band, had to have a saxophone, which is one of the reasons why I'm a big Springsteen fan. But when Blood, Sweat, and Tears came around, and then this Chicago album, I was hooked. And then I started listening to bands like If out of the UK, which is a really good jazz rock band. And then you had Lighthouse out of Canada, and you had the Eyes of March. There were so many bands that were coming into the jazz rock scene, that it was a good time. There was Tower of Power, later Earth, Wind, and Fire. So anyways, that was my main interest in music at that time. And we'll just get right into it, I guess. So the first song on the album is called Introduction. And basically, that's just what they're going to do. If you listen to the words, it's you could almost see them on a stage somewhere on the Strip in Los Angeles, and talking to the audience and saying, you know, we're new here. You don't know who we are, but listen. And some of the lyrics are, "Hey there, everybody. Please don't romp or roam. We're a little nervous because we're so far from home." Them being from Chicago and now in LA. So this is what we do. Sit back and let us groove and let us work on you. We've all spent years preparing before this group was born. With heaven's help, it blended, and we do thank the Lord. So if you've nothing to do, sit back and let us through and let us play for you. And that's it. That's the introduction to the band Chicago Transit Authority. And that song has just a killer Terry Kath guitar solo. I'm a firm believer that Terry was one of the greatest guitarists of all time, right up there with Hendrix. He was truly gifted guitar player. So next song, does anybody really know what time it is? Great horn introduction, fantastic harmonies. I just love this song because it just swings. They did release this as a single, but they released a shorter edited version. But the album version I really like because it's longer. I've always been a fan of extended versions of stuff, and there's a couple of Logas and Messina songs on their first two albums that I like that are nice long jams. That's kind of stuff I was into back in the late 60s, early 70s. So after Does Anybody Really Know What Time It Is, we go into the song Beginnings. And wow, what a great song this is. Got this nice guitar intro, and then the bass starts coming in, and then the horns like almost slide in, you don't even notice it. And then the vocals and Danny Serafine on drums is just fantastic. And the cowbell. And don't say it. I know you're thinking it. Don't say it. Okay. And then the next song is question 67 to 68. Literally, the horns never stop from start to finish in this song. It is amazing. And it was about, it was a Bobby Lamb song. And he says, it's about a girl I knew during those years with a hint of acid imagery and very Beatles influenced. The lyrics include the phrase, question 67, 68, only at the very end of the song. That's the only time they say it in that song. And then the next song is called Listen. And it says, it starts out with a really long sustained feedback on guitar, a bunch of horns and cowbell. Yes, more cowbell. And you can, I could just definitely, this is one I would want to see live. I definitely want to see this one live. But I'll never get to see Terry Kath. I've seen Chicago numerous times, but I don't think I've ever heard him play Listen. And then the next song is Poem 58, 8.5 minute jam. Terry's just on fire with his guitar. He's just so masterful. In a way, this reminds me of the long jam on the first James Gang album called Your Album. There's a song on there called Stop. It's got this real nice groove, nice jam in it. And it kind of reminds me of Poem 58. Then we come up with Freeform Guitar. Just what it sounds like. It's just Terry and his guitar and his amp and feedback. And I found the following quote about it. It originated when Terry started fooling around with his guitar and amp during a lunch break. Engineer Fred Catero was intrigued by the sounds Kathy was producing, so he rolled tape. Kath does some interesting things on this performance. There's an example of two-handed tapping, a technique that Eddie Van Halen would later use. He performed this freeform guitar on a Fender Strat through a Showman amp with a twin 15 bottom using a Bogan PA amp as a preamp. No electronic gimmicks or effects were used when recording this selection. And if you ever listen to it, you'll say, wow, it is definitely out there. And then next we have the song, one of my favorites, South California Purples, which is it's a blues song that I think it was Bobby Lamb wrote it. His girlfriend left him, and he was in California. He thought everything was supposed to be sunny and just beautiful there, and it wasn't. And he was having, instead of the blues, he was having the South California Purples. And then after the little break in the song, you hear him say, "I am he as you are me, and we are all together." So, anyways, so then after that, we've got probably my favorite song of all time by Chicago, and that's "I'm a Man," the Spencer Davis Group song. This, in my opinion, is the definitive version of this song. Absolute perfection. And it's one of Terry Kath's greatest, not only guitar work, but one of his greatest vocals. I think it's the best thing Chicago's ever done. And then we got a little snippet called Prologue, August 29th, 1968. And what it is this was the Democratic Convention in Chicago, and there were demonstrators outside. And the police were beating them and arresting them, hitting them with billy clubs, gassing them. And you can hear the crowd chanting, "The whole world's watching. The whole world's watching." And that clip, when it was shown on TV, it was shown worldwide, really. Jimmy Pankow and Bobby Lamb used that clip as an intro for a song they called Prologue, August 29th, 1968. And this is when they one of their first political songs, but they were definitely a political band, as you'll see later on future albums. But what they say after the demonstration is, "Would you look around you now and tell me what you see? Faces full of hate and fear, faces full of me. Do you hear the rumblings as your head comes crumbling down? Do you know what I mean?" And then the last song on the album is called Liberation, and is nearly 16 minutes long. It's just a great dueling jam between the guitar and the bass, and then the horns come in and everybody's going back and forth, and the drumming is just fantastic. Very reminiscent of Jimi Hendrix song, or his style of guitar playing. I think at one time Jimmy was quoted as telling the band that your guitar player is better than me. Whether there's any truth to that or not, I don't know. But I could see Jimmy saying something like that to him. He respected Terry. It's known that they respected each other. So, anyways, that's my deep dive on the first Chicago album, which was actually Chicago Transit Authority. And then, probably for legal reasons, Guercio told the band they should probably change their name to Chicago, which they did. And the rest is history. One other thing, too, this is probably, if I'm not mistaken, the first debut album by a band to come out as a double album. And Chicago 1, 2, and 3 were all double albums, which was very unusual for a band in that time. But I want to thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I love this band, so looking forward to doing Chicago 2 coming up next. Thanks.